This is my first episode of 2026 after a 2.5 month hiatus from recording. And I want to share a little bit about my own journey of things falling apart in my life and the new direction of Break the Cycle. If you're unaware, I have a trauma-informed dating and relationship. I don't even like to call it a program. It's an experiential journey. It is technically a program, but it's a coaching experience. It's a somatic therapy experience that I take women through who want to attract love and have healthier relationships all around in her life. When they've been struggling with that essentially their entire life. And I want to talk about the new direction of that and the difference in that you can ask yourself between that will help you determine, are you really ready to make changes in your life? And the two distinct places that I have seen women come into this work at, one that typically does not lead to lasting change, and the second that does lead to lasting change and relationship breaking cycles and healthy relationships, even when these women are over the age of 40, 50, and even 60 sometimes. So I will be sharing that difference with you as well, so that can help you discern, am I truly ready for change, or is my change being motivated, I don't want to say by a wrong emotion, but by an emotion or feelings or things that aren't likely setting me up for lasting transformation. So, a little bit of backstory. If you're new here and you are over the age of 40 and you do want more insights and potentially ways to work together to break your patterns of unfulfilling, dysfunctional relationships that leave you wanting more, where you feel like you're always putting in all of the effort, then hit subscribe or listen to this podcast. And I've got more than 100 episodes recorded already. I want to talk about where this whole journey of Break the Cycle started. So in 2019, in 2014, I had been running a private one-to-one brick and mortar practice part-time, in addition to other work that I was doing, supporting women with somatic therapy and yoga therapy. I noticed that all of those women and men, I did have a few male clients as well, struggled with relationships. And they were coming to me with a big question of, should I stay or should I go in my marriage? Or I don't know how to move on after this really dysfunctional relationship. Or I just ended it with somebody in a dating scenario that was really toxic, and I don't know how to get over this. Like and this keeps happening to me. I don't know how to attract a healthy relationship. And so I began focusing and taking more continuing education credits and programs to focus my work on relational trauma recovery, which is the type of trauma that most of us have. More than 86% of people that you will meet, in America at least, have relational trauma, if not, granted the state of the world and the economy right now, collective trauma. So relational trauma is what happens inside the walls of a relationship container, usually somebody who is extremely close to you, like a parent, a caregiver, or an intimate partner. And the irony of relational trauma is that it's the most prevalent, and it's the type of trauma that we would, on the surface, like to say that we wouldn't suspect that, but yet it's the place where trauma happens the most. And it's also the type of trauma that will continue to haunt you and shape your relationships well into the future. And it can be a challenging pattern to break. And in 2019, I decided to bring my practice online and go all in on helping women who were high achieving and driven in other areas of their life, but who had a broken picker, overcome narcissistic abuse trauma. And my focus at that time was working with women who had recently exited a narcissistic marriage or a relationship. And the reason that I focused on that specific entry point was number one, a lot of these women had a lot of urgency. They had built-in urgency to change. They had just left and they were desperate, in a sense, to fix themselves. They had a lot of motivation. And as I continued running that coaching program and revising the material and revising the approach and making tweaks and refinements here and there, I also began attracting women who had been out of a narcissistic relationship for a while. They weren't necessarily long-term single, but they had been out for several months to several years and were at a plateau in their healing. And they had been to therapy, they'd been to EMDR, they tried dating, were running into the same frustrations. And I found that those women in that camp who had been out for longer and who weren't desperate for healing typically had the best results. And here's why. When you are desperate to get out of pain, and by the way, getting out of pain is a powerful motivator. Escaping pain is one of the most common motivators for change that we have. You are 150 pounds overweight. You're tired of booking airline flights and feeling embarrassed when you have to squeeze into a seat, or you're tired of the way that you look, or you're tired of the weight being a deterrent in the intimacy in your relationship. There's a certain point where that pain becomes not doable anymore and you want to make some changes. So it is a powerful motivator. However, when people are desperate for change, meaning they're just so uncomfortable and they are so like, I just really want to get out of this. What happens is that their level of transformation is often stunted. They'll get out of pain, meaning what they reach is a sense of relief from the pain. But that's often, in my experience, where the level of change stops. And so what I noticed over the years is that a lot of the women that were motivated by desperation, just got out of another shitty relationship, I just filed for divorce, I don't know what I'm going to do with I don't know how I'm going to get over this. My ex is manipulating my kids, and I'm afraid that my kids are already showing signs of narcissism. I'm terrified of, the next 4 years until they graduate high school, like what's going to happen. Women who entered the work from that state did see some relief and they did see some transformation. But what I noticed happening is that they went back, especially in the world of dating, they went right back into fear-based choices after the work. And over time, they lost track of doing the work. They weren't consistent. They gave up on it completely and continued to run into the same habits in dating. And as I witnessed this playing out, despite my best intentions of creating something that would help women break the cycle of relational trauma and attract healthy relationships, I didn't feel good about that. And I decided to pivot, break the cycle, to women who are now out of a narcissistic relationship and who have been out for some time. And if this is you, pay close attention. You've probably had therapy. Maybe you started therapy long before you met your ex-partner. Maybe you've been in therapy for a long time. Maybe you've intermittently gone, you go in spurts and you feel better and then you stop going because you don't really need it anymore and you're like, I'm running out of things to talk about. You've probably had EMDR because that's been the hot buzzword and the hot thing for a while. And yet, despite all of that, you aren't happy. You've got a great career. You've got a beautiful home. You have peace in your life that you didn't have when you were with your ex. And on the outside, you feel like you should be happy, right? You're successful in pretty much every sense of the word. Nobody looking at you would think that your life is falling apart or that you're unhappy on the inside. But yet you are. And women who are in this place find that they often attract more unavailable partners. They are increasingly frustrated with dating. They take long breaks from dating. They feel like they're stuck in a rut. And it's like they've lost their zest for life. They might also be in draining work environments where she should feel happy. She's got a great salary. She's got great benefits. She only has X number of years before she can retire. She should probably just stick it out. But then inside, underneath that logical rationalizing is this quiet knowing that she wants more. And it's this quiet knowing that you're probably living with, and that you keep talking yourself out of listening to or taking action on, or you might not even know what action to take. There's confusion on how you can possibly make that quiet inner vision, that inner knowing, that inner nudge a reality in your life. This means, rather than being desperate for change, and I'm just seeking relief from this pain, this means that you're more likely being pulled by a vision of your future, even if that vision terrifies you, even if you keep thinking there's no way that can happen, even if you keep thinking, but I've failed so many times in relationships, but my life is so complicated right now, but my kids need me so much. When you are pulled by a vision, even if that vision is under your fear and comes out occasionally, but quickly gets trampled on by your fear, you're in the right frame for making lasting transformation. Now, the thing that will stop you the most, and I made a short video about this last week, are four dangerous words that will keep you stuck. They'll keep you stuck avoiding dating and intimate relationships and deeper connection. They'll keep you stuck in a draining work environment. They'll keep you stuck tolerating people and scenarios in your life that you've outgrown. And it's the statement that it's not that bad. It's not that bad that I haven't been on a date in 5 years. It's not that bad that I still have to feel anxious every single time I get a text from my ex about my daughter or my son. It's not that bad that I only have 5 more years in this job, but I just feel so stuck in this work. I've outgrown this job. I know that there's more for me. It's not that bad that I feel like I have to work 14-hour days just to feel like I'm getting ahead. It's not that bad that, I've invested all of this money and I've got a great net worth, but I'm not happy. It's not that bad, right? So it's not that bad is the thing that will perpetuate this stuckness. And the thing about it's not that bad is that your body, your nervous system becomes more comfortable with a sense of feeling stuck, or a sense of anxiety, or a sense of overwhelm, or a sense of things feeling hard, right? That becomes your temperature setting inside of your body. And subconsciously, it matches what are likely the limiting beliefs holding you back. I just saw a post earlier this morning. A woman had made a post where she said, I've spent years healing myself and I've been dating for the last 6 months, and every guy that I meet can't match my level of healing. They are inconsistent. They find excuses why they can't show up. So this might be you, right? You might be in this scenario where you've done all this work and you're finding that you've done like years healing yourself, and you might be telling yourself it's not that, well, this is frustrating. I don't want to keep going through this process with dating. It's not that bad if I just stay single for the rest of my life. By the way, I'm going to do a separate episode in the coming weeks on that topic of I've spent years healing myself and I've just started dating again, and why are all the men that I'm meeting not healed or not on my level? So don't worry, I'm going to cover that in the coming weeks. The point that I'm trying to make is that it's never the men in your area. It's never your past. It's never the thing, although your past will definitely have an influence on your choices until you're aware and you actively make choices that counter what you've normally done in the past. It's about how you feel. And if your body and your brain are accustomed to feeling anxious, stuck, not fulfilled, lonely, what happens is that your nervous system interprets that as familiarity, and your nervous system is here to keep you alive and to keep you safe. And your nervous system and your subconscious mind seek the familiar because it keeps you safe and it keeps you alive. And if you keep telling yourself it's not that bad, what you're essentially doing is just keeping yourself safe. But there's a big line between keeping yourself safe and keeping yourself stuck. So the changes that need to happen in order for you to make some type of lasting transformation in your love life and in your relationships, especially if you're over the age of 40 and you've never had a great relationship and you're now in a place in your life, maybe your kids have left for college or they've moved on, maybe your ex has remarried and moved on, maybe you have friends that are, empty nesters or soon to be empty nesters. And you see them, they're either dating and having success with it, or they're still married. And you're starting to have this sense of why am I here? What is my purpose? Is this all that there is for me? Work can't be the only thing, right? That is filling your cup. But what I often see is that women use their careers, especially after a tumultuous relationship, to bolster up their self-esteem. And what I can tell you from personal experience and witnessing this in clients, it never works. You will always feel like something is missing. And what often happens is that there is an underlying addiction to achieving. And this underlying addiction to achieving is based on your past childhood conditioning, learning that you weren't enough, learning that love was conditional, learning that you had to prove yourself in some way in order to be approved of and lovable. This sets you up subconsciously to be attracted to relationships where you're constantly proving yourself or needing to achieve or fix the relationship or fix your partner in some way. And that produces that familiar sense of anxiety, that familiar sense of stuckness, that familiar sense of unfulfillment, right? So this resentment. So this all goes back to what you're familiar with feeling. And the way that you know that you're ready for change is when you reach the point where you have had enough. You might be pissed off. You might be frustrated. You might be like, why am I still here? And in my experience, there are certain events that it can be an event that happens in your life or a series of events that happen in your life that lead you to this magical arrival point of being ready for change. That can look like I said before, your kids going off to college, can look like you're turning 55 and it's been 5 years since you've been on a date. Your mom might have died alone after a really tumultuous relationship with your dad and you don't want to repeat that pattern. It can look like this just chronic. It doesn't even need to be a specific event. It can feel like I've just been living like this too long. It can feel like that inner knowing that I know that I have to do something different. I'm just sick and tired of holding myself back. That is a more powerful place to begin change versus I am so desperate. I need somebody just to save me from myself. I need to get out of this pain. And just really what you're seeking in that place is a sense of relief. But that rarely leads to lasting transformation in my experience. So if this episode resonated for you, drop a comment below and let me know what landed. And if you are turning over a new leaf in 2026, if you've decided, I'm tired of being a workaholic, I'm tired of my career kind of being the main thing in my life, or one of the two main things, my work and my kids, but I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I like anymore. I never have time for myself. I'm always anxious. I resent my kid. I resent my ex. I resent men in my area because they're all unavailable. If you're tired of living in that space, then I invite you to, first of all, check out my free masterclass where I walk you through the 5 essential shifts that you need in order to break this pattern. This is a high-level overview. You can go to bethany.dotson.com/masterclass, and I'll drop the link below this video. You're also welcome to book a free discovery call. This is a no obligation, completely free call to help you identify, you probably already know, where your roadblocks are, but this is to help you identify the deeper fears that are holding you back, and most importantly, to help you get very clear on a compelling vision for your future. When I work with women who've experienced heartbreak, betrayal, narcissistic abuse, loss, and they have repeatedly attracted the same type of partner over and over and over again in their lives, they lose belief in themselves that they can do things differently. They lose belief that it can be different for them. And subsequently, they start to shrink their dreams. They start to make their goals safe, and they start to make what they want in a partner safe and logical, and like it's pragmatic, and I don't want to like color too far outside the lines, because subconsciously they're afraid of failing again, and rightfully so. But on this discovery call, we're going to help you have a breakthrough in that area where we break past some of your fears and your limitations to help you emotionally connect to that vision of your future and what you want. And if it feels aligned on that call, we'll discuss ways that we can work together. But again, this is not obligatory. This is more of a breakthrough for you so that you can experience that aha moment, that thing that kind of like cracks open your resistance. But I want to be clear that call is only for you if you're in a place where you're truly ready for change. This is not for somebody who's still in an abusive marriage or relationship and looking for just some free advice on how to fix their partner or what they can do to like keep enduring it, or how to get out, especially if it's a dangerous situation. If you're in a dangerous situation, I would suggest contacting your local domestic violence, or I think 211.org is another resource that you can contact. But this call is for you if you feel like you've reached that inner threshold where you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you're ready to turn over a new leaf and be in a completely different place and feel more empowered, more in love with your life, more in love with the journey of dating, and potentially in a healthy relationship by the end of 2026. You can go to bethanydotson.com/talk to schedule that call. And thank you so much for watching or listening today, wherever you're tuning in from, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.